so much for coming. We are going to be sharing this wonderful space and each other's thoughts for the next 30 minutes. I am so thankful that you have chosen to spend your afternoon with me. My name is Evelyn, Evie, if we've partied together. Since COVID, it has become very clear that we have a responsibility to build community. And I personally feel that I have a responsibility to preserve this art form. Thank you to Oscillate for making this happen, and again, thank you to you for coming. Let's begin. So, my practice is heavily influenced by the psychedelic art movement of the 1960s. I am a huge nerd, and understanding what happens inside of our brain is very important for my art practice. I like to know what I can do to enhance the viewer's experience. So the first thing that we are going to do is discuss the science behind my art. Then I will take you to a journey to and through the psychedelic art movement, focusing on liquid light shows. And lastly, I'm going to do a really quick show and tell. So there are many elements that are at play during visual shows. Understanding these will help us create experiences that use the brain to make a stronger connection to what it is experiencing. First, we have psychophysics, and this is the study of the qualitative relationships between psychological events and physical events. It investigates the relationship between physical stimuli and the sensation and perception they produce. More specifically, between sensations. Well, no, never mind. It was first coined by Gustav Fechner in his book, The Elements of Psychophysics, written in 1860. In this book, he also introduced what would later become experimental psychology. And I mean, that's big world thinking, but it's important for me to understand how people experience my visuals because I want to create joy and not pain. Today we're focusing on joy, but it can go all the way to sonic warfare. And that is another topic that I love to talk about, but maybe it's for a different time. Next, we have synesthesia, and this is when the brain routes sensory information through multiple unrelated senses, causing you to experience more than one sense simultaneously. Perception in the brain happens in 3 steps. First is detection, when your senses pick up something that is happening. Next is signaling, so your senses send a signal to your brain describing what they are experiencing. And lastly, it's the process. Your brain receives those signals and routes them to a certain area for processing. That area helps you understand what you are experiencing. Synesthesia happens when your brain routes that information to multiple unrelated senses. This is important to understand because when we are doing sound visualization, we are tricking the brain into thinking that this is happening all on its own. My goal with my art is to have people see sounds. And the goal of music is for people to feel it, not just hear it. Then we have psychedelics. Psychedelic, that term was first coined by British psychologist Humphrey Osmond. He used it to mean mind manifesting. Psychedelics are a class of psychoactive substances that produce changes in perception, mood, and cognitive processes. The psychedelic era was the time of social, musical, and artistic change influenced by psychedelic drugs, occurring from the mid-1960s to the mid-1970s. The area was defined by the proliferation of LSD and its following influence in art, political thinking, which we will discuss a little bit later on. Lastly is optical illusions. So this is where images or pictures are perceived differently than they really are. And there's 3 main classes: physical, psychological, and cognitive illusions. I use Moyer patterns, which are where similar patterns are repeated and merged together. And the next one I can't pronounce, but it's pareidolia, and it's when the brain sees faces in different objects, in inanimate objects. So I actually use both of these systems in my own logo. As you can see, there's the interference in the middle. To me, it looks like a person with teeth. I hope that you guys can see it because that was the goal. Okay, great. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Well, halfway through. Okay, so I told you, I'm a big nerd. So I start all the way with Pythagoras. So let's go on a little artistic journey, beginning all the way in ancient Greece, where Pythagoras discovered that the harmonious mathematical connection within shapes and within colors. This is important for me to note because I know that there is perfection in what we see, and we can seek it out, and there's actually mathematics to prove it. In 1884, Alexander Wallace Remington developed an organ that could produce both music displays of synchronized colors. He described the internal workings of the instrument as having a white light passing through a carbon prism providing color. And in 1960, Science Mechanics magazine published a how-to article on constructing your very own do-it-yourself organ at home. In the 1920s, Thomas Wilfred was one of the first to use pure white light as a medium. He was a trained painter and frustrated while trying to capture light. By definition, light dances around, so trying to put it in painting was just not doing it for him. So he developed this new art practice to try to capture the dance of light. From 1964 until 1980, he had an installation at MoMA, which inspired many psychedelic visual artists. Around this time, Albert Einstein was becoming very popular, and his theories were printed in newspapers where people were engaging with high-level scientific concepts, and many of those newspapers used these visuals to connect the two. In 1952, Seymour Laux, a professor at San Francisco State College, gave an improvised performance at an educational conference. He swirled paint on an overhead projector accompanied by improvised jazz. He wanted to revive the futuristic theater experiences from the 1920s. This inspired one of his students, Elias Romero, who began experimenting with squish plates. And those are just what they sound, two plates together where you squish colors. He went on to work at the San Francisco Tape Music Center, which was an incredible place for experimental, electronic, and live visuals. If you love synthesizers, this was an amazing resource. His landlord happened to be Bill Ham. These two are recognized as the original creators of the traditional San Francisco light show. Bill Ham was also an expressionist painter and brought liquid light shows to Nevada, which is considered to be the birthplace of psychedelic music scene. So Danny Williams created the Fillmore East. So this was a venue in New York that was able to support a rear projection screen, and light artists were able to leave their rigs on site. So this obviously allows, you can see from our setup today, if you have your rig set up and you don't have to take it down, the types of equipment that you would use are amazing, and you can leave them there. He invited liquid light show artists such as Joshua Light to show up residency there. So me and Joshua White are friends now because he's amazing. Joshua Light, sorry, I'm just calling him Joshua White. He would be mortified. Anyways, and he sent me these pictures, and he said, here's a bonding moment. My first primitive Joshua Light show performance was in 1967 at the O'Keefe Center in Toronto. Isn't that wonderful? And then he said, everything happened so quickly in those days. 7 months later, this is what the setup looked like. So it really was a time of experimenting and evolving really, really quickly. So this is what the rear projection looked like from the stage. Joshua Light's show traveled with bands such as the Grateful Dead, exchanging knowledge with live visual artists throughout the country. The 1960s and the 70s was the height of the psychedelic music art scene. So this is one of the posters, and as you can see, the light show artists had equal billing with the performers of the time. And this is some more posters where you can see they have equal billing, and the iconography of the 1960s is very evident. Okay. So this is a setup from the Brotherhood of Light. You can find more information on these guys on brotherhoodoflight.com. They are still around. And this is them performing with the Allman Brothers. So this is their modern setup. As you can see, the lights are still, well, you can't see that part, but it's still projections, very much like I'm going to show you, but now it's mediated through visual things, computers. I'll go over that in a second. So this is the Mad Alchemist Light Show, and he also is still performing, and he's really cool. So this is Lance from the Mad Alchemist Light Show. And as you can see, it's very similar setup to what I have. The next picture is even better. Oh, but I wanted to show you this because one, you have the visuals, which is very much like this, and then backstage, you have this light mixer that he uses. He's so funny. So when I saw him perform in Edmonton, he had all these overhead projectors, but when you looked closer, they had actually been gutted, and he's using document cameras exactly like I am. And when I asked him about it, he just said, they're cool. So he has this huge rig that he has to bring just because it's cool, because he doesn't need them, and you can't fold overhead projectors the way that you can digital cameras. So that was really cool. All right, so this guy with the toque, that is Liquid Light Lab, and here's a performance where he is collaborating with some old-timers called Heavy Light. Liquid Light Lab is a huge resource for information and a place to purchase equipment. So if you're interested, this is where I got this light table and where I get some of the plates, and he sells really high-quality oils. Today I'm using just some coloring, but you'll see it works. So this is one of his setups, and this is two overhead camera devices known as visual presenters. They are digital and are able to send information directly to the video mixer. And then the video mixer is in the middle, right there. It's called, if you guys want to know, oh my god, Edirol V4, and it's popular video effects used by DJs all over the world. This is an Opti 250. OptiKinetics is a company out of England, and they're still around today, and they have several different streams. This one is called for business, so things like big, heavy light shows, this is the type that you would purchase. And you can see it right there on the light. And then the second one is more for therapeutic use, and the last one is for home use. What I like about this is that the oils in the water, some of them are still and they turn inside like a slide projector, and some of them have liquids. And you might be able to see how messy this actually gets. So this is really nice. This is Rob Lewis's slide projector collection, and it's not only a history of what he used, but also a history of the evolution of slide projectors. So this setup is very, very similar to what I have. He's got a light table, it's got a computer, and it's got a light mixer. And this is basically what most people who do liquid light shows now have it set up. But we all started in the same place. If you break it down, this is what it is. Overhead projectors, concave glass, and liquids and water. This is what it would look like now. There's, I think, 5 overhead projectors on Kijiji right now. They're all about $100. You can buy concave glass like this, or you can break apart some clocks. There's mineral oil and food coloring. That's basically it. So this is my personal setup. I use an IC from Critter and Guitari. I use this Ronald V1 HD. I use a tracing table, which I didn't bring today because I wanted to bring this one, and then a document camera. Most of this stuff can be found on Amazon or at their own website. And it's not very expensive to get started. I mean, the light mixer is, but everything else, it's not. So now I'm going to go on a little bit of a explanation of what I do. So this is what the setup was at the Mason Temple in Edmonton, and we did lights for Matthew Cardinal, and this was taken on my iPhone 6, so it's not very good. But I wanted to show you this picture because at the time in the 1960s, the liquid lights was the only light that you would have on stage, similar to what we did with poor Matthew Cardinal. And our projector wasn't very bright at the time, but not only did it enhance the music, but it was also necessary for the artists to see their own instruments. Then this was me as a baby in 2010. I didn't really understand how liquid light shows worked. I didn't know that it was horizontal. I thought that they were vertical. So my setup at the time, trying to figure it out, was like, oh, I like the way that looks. Let me see if I can recreate it without doing any research whatsoever. I would use a television, which had really big pixels, and then in front of it was a vase. So the vase was horizontal like this, and I could put water from the top, drip oils, and then it would be picked up by a webcam, and the webcam would take the information to my computer where I would mix it. It's almost exactly the same setup that I'm still working on over 14 years now later, except of the TV. I use a very old monitor, which again has very large pixels, so I love that. I don't do a lot of performing at parties. I do a little bit. So the one at the bottom is at a party that we went to do visuals for. And when we got there, we realized there wasn't really any walls that you could project on. So we projected on the ceiling. And then during COVID, I don't know what you guys did during COVID, but for me, it wasn't very good. However, we were able to experiment a little bit more with choreography of sound, of visuals, and then setting up little sets. And I've also done a lot of puppetry, and this one was a rear projection where we used visuals to project on there, but then we told the story with shadow puppets. Okay, so I'm going to set up my stuff. I'm going to turn off my mic. Do you guys have any questions before I do that?
Actually, yeah.
Yes.
When you was doing the thing with the oil and stuff, do you pre-record that, or is that actually live?
I'm going to show it. It's going to be live. But we're going to do it. And you know what? I haven't done it in like 2 years, so let's see if we can figure it out together. It's not that hard. Yes?
Is there a way that we can interact with you on socials?
Yes, of course. I have stickers, which have my thing, and my name is Evie Light Pirate on socials. But definitely join the Discord. I'm a little older than most of you, so I'm just learning Discord. But my Instagram, I talk very, very in depth about my art practice and what it is and why I do the things I do. As I told you at the beginning, it's my responsibility to build community, so I really break it down in there. You're never going to see pictures of what I eat, but you're going to see pictures of my setup and the things that I'm working on. Ready?
Ready?
Okay. Thank you so much. I don't need the mic, but you can walk me through it. So, let's pretend that this is an overhead projector. It's exactly what an overhead projector looks like. So it's a white light, and then it's a camera shining down. That is all you need. Next, you have the glass. There's concave glass. I broke the two little ones, but it doesn't matter. And you put it on here. Next, I'm going to use just a little bit of water, which is this one. And then just a little bit of oil. And then I'm going to color it. And then, if the music is playing, I could basically just press it up and down to the music. And then, because I bought this, and it's amazing, it does this. So now it plays colors. Or it also spins. And then I use a lot of found objects. They can go like this, and I use a lot of Moyer patterns. So, I can start spinning the other way. Or I can continue with a different color. So one of the things that I'm excited for with AI is I could train this. I could record if I wanted to, and then pick up. I could tell it to say, can you approximate faces? Can you find faces on this? Right now, what I do is I record it and I draw on top of them. But that's one way to do it. So this is basically it. Let's go back to white so you can see it. And I can just play to the beat of the music. And then, what I also have, because I have this monitor, so we're going to leave that. And then we're going to come to the monitor. And now it's just the video mixer. But I can put stuff on here. I think there was a question that we had to ponder, right? What was the question? It was about perfection.
The question is, how do you reconcile the fact that when you're playing live, it's going to be imperfect, and yet you, as an artist, you have a vision of exactly what you want?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I see this as dancing or performing with the computer. So there's three people at play. There's the robots, there's me, and then there's the music, which I don't have for you. Do you have a way to put any music out? Like anything. Do you have any music right now on? Yeah. So yeah, I'm just interacting with the robot. And that's basically it. Do you guys want to come play?
You just want us to play music?
Yeah.
Okay.
something.
Okay.
Does anybody want to come try it?
I want to look at it.
Okay. Just be careful with that thing, but. Oh, I can also put this on here. That's what I was like, why isn't it both working?
Yeah, work it all together.
There we go. I just want these. I use a lot of, I didn't bring them to me, so very nervous. But I cut out paper shapes, and so those interact with this as well. Oh, I guess I can leave this on because there's no way on.
Damn.
I didn't prep any of my lenses. Or another thing I can do is put water in here and then blow on it or use alcohol if you alcohol sometimes changes. You guys have any more questions? Do you want to try it?
What's the video, or like, what are you doing with the mixer?
So the mixer is kind of doing a video feedback setup with chroma keying. So I've got two different effects. One chroma keys out white, one chroma keys out black. So you can have control the layering of things. Takes some interaction to get the video feedback going right. Camera alignment really matters too.
Oh yeah.
It's something you have to play with, and you can do a lot. But as you see, you can lose the signal. We can bring it back with the brightness and darkness controls on the video.
So you adjust the level.
Yeah, you kind of kind of feed light into the system. It's like sound, you know, you get feedback based on the energy of the system.
And the red box is just outputting video? It's just like a synthesized
This
output?
is a video synthesis box, Critter and Atari IZ. They've got a couple other little boxes that are cheap. And this will take an audio input. We didn't set it up today, but it's sound reactive. These are all written in Python. We've just got defaults loaded on here right now. I haven't actually gotten into programming this thing yet. It's a very deep thing. You can actually make this do basically anything in video synthesis.
So right now I don't have computer input, but if I want,
Yeah,
I could draw animations, which I've done before, put them through so that they play on the video. Pardon? Yeah. And it's almost feeding upon itself.
So you can fade it in time with a draw.
Yeah, and you can, yeah, we can, normally we'll have other
These
things too on
are
a laptop with big four inputs, so we can, a lot more expensive.
I also like kind of do my own
Does a lot more. It was an investment.
Oh, crush it back.
Bringing like physicality into it.
Exactly, yeah, that's the whole point.
Exact live improvisation. You don't always know where the music's going.
We have no idea. Yeah. And that's, we perform with people who never even heard the music.
Red box. That's a video synthesizer. So that takes audio input.
It will take,
Creates it.
it's not set up right now. It's kind of it does, how to explain it. It has, you can do Python code that will, make blocks move around.
So does it use like something like touch designer or
It's
something?
pure data actually.
Huh.
So yeah,
That's really
touch
cool.
design is very similar. I'm learning touch designer right now.
Yeah, that is interesting. And I've never seen one of something like that before.
Critter and Guitar is a company. They make all sorts of, every box of theirs looks like this too. So they're a good company. They make little synthesizers too. They have a one called the Organelle that is like this but for audio.
Yeah.
You can load any pure data patch onto it and take it with you.
Yeah, that's super neat.
Yeah.
That is really neat.
I think I saw some kids in the audience. Do the kids want to try it?
And then you're saying like that is feedback loops, like built into
The
it.
monitor, so you can mix in, you can change how it chroma keys in. So this pattern, as you can see if you drop it,
Yeah.
sort of destabilizes the system. And,
Oh.
that's why we like the old
Gotcha,
monitor, because
gotcha.
you can kind of see the pixels. And you can zoom right in.
Ah.
And it does,
And I get
and
that.
also it's an LCD, so by pressing on it, you can get weird little
Just really
effects.
mess with it, can't you?
Mixing things properly. That's one of the things. Oil is better than food coloring. You want different colors that don't mix. The food coloring just kind of goes brown.
Do you ever play like get a video camera and feed the video camera live off stage into it, so it kind of like
That we haven't, but yeah, we would need a second video camera for that. That'd be a good idea.
yeah, that is really neat. It's kind of you get like fractals almost, isn't it? Like
That's all this. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of these are just what it came with. Yeah. But if you're into Python programming, you could do it. Yeah, it does have image. Yeah, it's fully it's pure data. So it's open ended.
yeah, that's neat.
You guys